KREM 2 News begins now.
It's been a busy week for news across the Inland Northwest. Let's get you caught up with the KREM 2 News Week in Review. I'm Tim Pham. Thanks for joining us here on KREM 2 Plus. Here now is a look at some of the biggest stories from this past week.
A mother is without a car after it burst into flames at this intersection right behind me. I had a chance to speak with the mother earlier this afternoon, who says that all she could think about in that moment was saving her daughter from the back seat. A routine drive this family makes several times a week took a frightening turn.
I was just scared that I was going to lose my daughter.
Zoe Moline was driving near Francis and Wall when her car suddenly caught fire. She sent me these photos showing the fire's aftermath. That night, she climbed through the driver's side of the car to reach her 3-year-old daughter in the back seat and save her from the flames.
All you really think about is making sure your child's okay. Trying to get to her as fast as I could is all I could think about.
A situation she and her daughter both still remember vividly.
It was really hard for us to both watch, our car go up in flames. I just thank God that I was able to get to her fast enough and everything turned out okay.
Everything except for her car that was destroyed in the fire. Now Moline is doing everything she can to get by without a car.
Getting rides, busing, I have a family member that's going to let me borrow their car for a little bit, but you got to do what you got to do.
Moline started a GoFundMe, raising more than half of the goal in just 1 week. Those funds going towards buying a new car before the weather gets worse.
I'm so thankful for people coming to help us, and it's just been really, really hard.
A light at the end of the tunnel, particularly with the holidays right around the corner.
And especially with everything that she just went through, I want to make sure that she has a really good Christmas this year.
Christian Garza, KREM 2 News.
Mark and Sarah Edge filed medical malpractice and negligence claims against their son's oral surgeon. They claim he split his attention by administering anesthesia while also performing surgery on their son. They now want to save other families from suffering the same loss by bringing awareness to this common practice. We are not naming the dentist in this lawsuit because he is not being criminally charged or investigated.
The Edge family never imagined a life without their son and brother.
He was our sunshine.
As a reminder of the light Eric once brought into their lives, his parents Sarah and Mark and brother Zach wear a tattoo of his thumbprint on their wrists.
We can feel our pulse through his print, so it feels connected still.
A connection that brings some comfort to the Edge family as they're living through the unimaginable.
Our son went in for routine wisdom tooth removal, and he died.
The 17-year-old went in for surgery this summer. Eric died unexpectedly from complications during the surgery. The medical examiner's report says Eric died from cardiac arrest, likely caused by a reaction to anesthesia.
We don't know exactly how he failed. We just know our son died.
The family filed a lawsuit against Eric's oral surgeon, looking for answers and to raise awareness.
We want to know what happened and make corrections to whatever that was, so no other family in Spokane or anywhere has to go through this type of grief and loss.
The lawsuit claims during Eric's surgery, the oral surgeon acted as both anesthesia provider and oral surgeon. It says the oral surgeon failed to recognize and respond in a timely and proper manner, resulting in injuries that caused Eric's death. His parents say they didn't know the oral surgeon was acting in both roles.
Do you think if someone else had been the anesthesiologist, that second person, that the outcome of that surgery would have been different?
Oh, yeah.
I don't think we would be here today.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The Washington Department of Health requires a permit to administer all levels of sedation and general anesthesia. Department of Health records show Eric's oral surgeon is a licensed dentist and has a dentist general anesthesia permit. Based on those records, the dentist was acting in accordance with medical guidelines. But we found the American Dental Association requires at least one person present for patient monitoring, in addition to the dentist, at any level of sedation. The policy says that additional person must be trained in basic life support for healthcare providers. We don't know what happened leading up to Eric's death. That's what the Edge family hopes the lawsuit will uncover. I reached out to the dentist's attorney, Stephen Lamberson, who says his client is not speaking with the media. Instead of giving an interview, Lamberson shared a statement on his client's behalf. We've redacted the dentist's name because he is not being criminally charged or investigated at this time. He says Mr. Edge was his client's patient, and Eric's death was unfortunate and unforeseen. He and his staff have been deeply impacted, but his client followed safety protocol and met standard of care. His client is prepared to respond to the lawsuit and defend his care. Still, the Edge's attorney says Eric's reaction to the anesthesia is common and preventable.
Any anesthesiologist who didn't know how to respond appropriately to this kind of complication would have a trail of bodies, a long trail of bodies behind them in their career.
The American Dental Association, or ADA, offers a list of questions parents can ask their dentist about sedation and general anesthesia for their child. They include, how will my child be monitored before, during, and after the procedure? And does the dentist have all the permits or licenses required by the state dental board to provide the planned level of anesthesia or sedation? Meantime, through their lawsuit, the Edge family hopes to find their own answers.
Yeah, I'm still in shock, just like our whole family. An incredible loss that didn't have to happen.
They admit navigating a life without their sunshine hasn't been easy.
Our bond is unbreakable. I still feel connected to him.
But they'll hold close to the memories Eric left them.
Now, we do want to mention KREM 2 knows the Edge family because of their longtime involvement with Tom's Turkey Drive. Eric and his family have made yearly donations to the cause since the two boys were very young. This connection to the Edge family is partly why we're sharing their story. Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
I've been going through our past coverage as well as talking with the Nez Perce County District Court, trying to get a timeline of events formed leading up to Umfenauer's arraignment. An assistant supervisor for the court says since this is still an ongoing case, a lot of details are not public just yet. So what we know so far is what we've been able to confirm from Idaho State Police.
The indictment charges a single count of murder in the first degree.
Back in March of this year, Nicholas Umfenauer helped Skylar Mead, an Idaho prison inmate, escape from custody while Mead was in the process of being transported back to prison after being treated at a Boise hospital. Idaho State Police say Umfenauer shot multiple corrections officers during the escape. Now, both men are being accused of murdering James Money while on the run.
That is an offense which carries with it a maximum penalty of up to death or imprisonment for life in prison. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Police say Mead and Umfenauer were driving through North Idaho in a stolen car when they crossed paths with Money. Police believe that Money was taken in his Chrysler Pacifica to an area near Leland and killed. 36 hours after the escape, the two men were found and arrested in Twin Falls County. Both men have been sentenced to life in prison in Ada County for their involvement with the prison escape and are now facing the death penalty after being accused for murder. During Umfenauer's arraignment, like Mead, he decided to stand silent when asked about entering a plea, which means a not guilty plea will be entered on his behalf by Judge Evans. Umfenauer also waived his right to a speedy trial. Umfenauer is scheduled to be back in court on March 27th to schedule a trial date. Skylar Mead's Nez Perce County trial for murder is set to start on February 3rd. In studio, Christian Garza, KREM 2 News.
So in short, the court blocks the merger.
More than 2 years after a merger between Kroger and Albertsons grocery stores was announced, a King County judge has ruled it's a no-go.
The proposed merger violates RCW 19.86.060. That's the Consumer Protection Act.
Union members immediately celebrated the decision outside the courtroom.
We're very happy with this decision. We're also happy with the FTC decision, and we look forward to hopefully a similar decision in Colorado.
Not long before the King County ruling, a federal judge in Oregon ruled to temporarily block the $25 billion merger while the federal case continues. Part of the merger would include selling off 579 stores to C&S wholesale grocers. Both judges saying the merger would lessen competition and harm consumers. Washington's Attorney General and Governor-elect Bob Ferguson called it an important victory.
Those rulings are a vindication for antitrust enforcement.
John Kirkwood, a law professor at Seattle University, says these decisions help ensure grocery prices will remain stable.
By blocking this mega merger, these judges have greatly increased the certainty that food prices won't be elevated through anti-competitive behavior.
Well, I just spent today listening back to the entire meeting. The school board discussed the need to cut about $1 million in transportation costs, but that's not all.
Here are a few things on the table that the school board discussed. 1, the board talked about closing down an elementary school and moving students across the district.
It's hard for me to visualize how we can take 300 or 400 kids out of one building and spread those across the other buildings and not have increases in class size beyond what we currently have.
2, move to a 4-day school week. School officials say this could save anywhere from $300,000 to $400,000 a year because facilities would not be in use. And Superintendent Lisa Arnold says this would save money on staffing.
We spent almost $140,000 last year just on guest teachers on Fridays.
3, the board discussed cutting kindergarten to only half-day and reallocating those funds. 4, get rid of the $135,000 snowplow contracts and switch to government surplus vehicles. And 5, pay to play. School officials stated students would pay $1,800 each to participate in school athletics. But the school board says they have not ruled out running a second levy. However, some on the board did not agree with another levy as a viable option.
We have no plan. So if we go to run another supplemental levy for even a lesser dollar amount and it doesn't pass, what is our plan?
That's why I'm bringing it to you.
School board says they want pros and cons lists on all considerations with costs listed. They are planned to meet again on December 18th. I did reach out to the school board and the superintendent for direct comment, but did not hear back. In the newsroom, Regan Gallo, KREM 2. From school security to mental health programs, Coeur d'Alene Public Schools says they can now stay on track to positively impact both students and staff.
School officials say with the 61% pass rate the $25 million replacement levy received, the district can now continue to run all programs and resources for their 9,700 students. Mental health resources like risk assessment, suicide prevention, and in-school therapy could have been severely impacted.
And so some of those services that would have gone away are some of the therapy that they provide. With parent permission, they see students during the school hours that would normally not be able to get those services outside. They either don't have insurance or transportation is an issue.
School resource officers were also at risk. School officials say with the approved levy, the security team can work on more proactive problem solving while providing peace of mind to staff.
Creates an environment where if the staff feels safe in their school, it allows them to focus just on the job of educating the students.
Looking forward, the district says they anticipate presenting a levy resolution to the state legislature to change the frequency of levies as requested by voters.
In Idaho, you have an option to run a levy for 1 year or 2 years or forever. And we've also heard from our community that forever is kind of a long time.
Superintendent Hawker says that with a potential 4 to 6 year levy, it could reduce voter fatigue for both the community and staff. In Coeur d'Alene, Regan Gallo, KREM 2 News.
Welcome back to the KREM 2 News Week in Review. I'm Tim Pham. Let's get back now to some of the biggest news stories from the Inland Northwest this past week.
The suit filed this week hopes to overturn this new law. You saw it on the ballot as Initiative 2066. In November, 52% of voters approved this. It was the only initiative on the ballot that passed. 2066 was a direct response to a law that passed earlier this year that pressured utility companies, specifically Puget Sound Energy, to move away from fossil fuels and towards the state's goal of 100% clean energy. 2066 now overturns that, ensuring natural gas will continue to play a major role in energy use and prevent future bans on natural gas. That is if it holds. Climate activists activists claim the ballot wording didn't fully disclose the initiative's scope, like threatening rebate programs for energy-efficient upgrades. The city of Seattle is among the plaintiffs that are challenging this initiative.
It's not every day you start publicizing a lawsuit, but when we think our planet and our air and our water and how we are trying to save this planet is affected, we will come together and we will fight.
Let's Go Washington, the group that got 2066 on the ballot, believed that the state's attempt to phase out fossil fuels would eventually cause homeowners and businesses to have to pay for costly electric upgrades. The Building Association of Washington, another supporter of 2066, already filed a suit last week asking the courts to enforce this new law. Now, the challenge of the new law that voters passed will face a judge here in King County. In studio, Drew Andre, King 5 News.
After speaking with Governor Inslee's office just hours ago, the main thing they tell me they are worried about is the precedent this proposal sets for the future, not just for Washington state, but for the country as a whole.
They can just do that without understanding what that would mean for our fire season or our flood season or other emergencies that come up.
On December 9th, the National Governors Association released a statement opposing legislative proposal 480, which would reassign more than 570 Air National Guardsmen to the U.S. Space Force without what it says is legally required approval from governors. Morgan Wilson, the General Government Senior Policy Advisor for Governor Inslee's office, says this decision undermines more than 100 years of precedent, as well as national security and military readiness.
And that is a great backstop that we have in place to make sure that governors are able to talk about the capabilities that they need from the National Guard in emergencies and how that would affect the state if National Guard forces are moved.
Wilson says select guardsmen in 6 states, Alaska, California, Colorado, Florida, Hawaii, and Ohio, will be directly affected by this proposal. While it doesn't affect Washington at this moment, Wilson says the proposal sets a precedent that opens the door to more situations like this.
This has never happened before. So now that we've seen legislation that is exempting a movement from this process where governors don't have to be consulted, where the National Guard is being moved, how many times might it happen again in another Defense Authorization Act next year or the next year or the next year?
While the decision hasn't been made just yet, Wilson says we will find out what Congress has decided later this month. In studio, Christian Garza, KREM 2 News.
Right now, the crews behind me are setting up more than 1 million lights at Dunkin' Gardens. This is where you'll be able to come enjoy the Manito Lights event starting this Saturday. It's a tradition Spokane has come to anticipate, like a visit from St. Nick.
Last year we had 75,000 people come through. People have compared it to Bloomsday or Hoop Fest. People really enjoy this and put it on their calendars for the holiday season.
But this year your visit to Manito Lights will look a little different. It's in a new spot near Geyser Conservatory, says Friends of Manito Executive Director Kelly Brown.
So we've never had it in Dunkin' Garden before. So all the same number of lights, all the same displays, but concentrated into one spot.
And the change of venue also means the biggest change of all in how you can enjoy the lights.
So this year is walk-through only. We found that most people just really enjoy getting out and walking around. This way it doesn't clog up traffic for the neighbors.
Brown says that comes after demand for more walk-through days and an effort to reduce the traffic load on neighbors. It's also lightening the load of these volunteers, lighting another magical display at Manito.
We want to make people happy during the holidays.
There will also be hot drinks and food near the Geyser Conservatory. The Manito Lights come on this Saturday, December 14th at 4:30. Shannon Mowdy, KREM 2 News.
All right, let me just go ahead and set the scene for you. I mean, you've got all of these beautiful lights back here. Maybe you bring yourself a good hot beverage or something along those lines, and you're walking through Dunkin' Gardens and you're singing with your family because that's the time of the year. This is what you do, right? So you're singing, "I want a hippopotamus for Christmas." only a hippopotamus will do. You know, I don't want anything else. But let me step out of the way so we can get some zoom in action on all of these beautiful lights. This is what I'm talking about. This is my favorite time of the year. So excuse me if I get a little bit too excited, but it's hard not to when you're in a beautiful garden, a beautiful park. And you know, this is the first year that these Manito lights have switched over to just being here in the Duncan Garden area. So this is going to help avoid all of the clogging, you know, because it used to be a drive-through type of situation. Of course, it started in the pandemic, and it was just a good resource to help people, you know, kind of just put a smile on your face. It was such a long year, but this year it'll be walking and just being able to take it all in. Lights will officially flip on at 4:30 this Saturday, and you can see the lights until December 22nd. To come and see the lights, that's going to be free, but there also is a couple of options for some hot food, some hot drinks, things to help keep you busy and happy and, you know, just in that Christmas spirit when you come out here to Manito Park. But as you can see, I'm loving it, and I'm happy just to be able to get a good little sneak peek before things officially kick off on Saturday. But for now, reporting here at Manito Park, Brandon T. Jones, KREM 2 News.
Thank you for joining us here on KREM 2 Plus. For the KREM 2 News Weekend Review, remember, you can always watch our latest newscast and weather forecast right here on KREM 2 Plus. Just click on the video in the bottom navigation menu. I'm Tim Pham. Thanks for watching.